everybody. Sorry it took me a day to get this set. I started to record yesterday, was halfway through, and my computer decided to die. So we're back again. Um, so with this SQ3R, there are the different steps that you're going through. You're surveying, you're questioning, you're reading, recording, and recalling. There are two different ways that you could do it. You can annotate directly on the paper that I gave you, or you can handwrite or type your notes out. So I'm doing it both ways so you could see. You do not have to do it both ways. If you want to, fine, but you do not have to. It's just one of the ways. So since I started it yesterday, I'm going to take you through what it is that I already did yesterday, um, and then I'll go from there. So um, first thing you do is survey. So that means taking a look at what do you notice about the text? What features do you see? What is it that those features might mean? So I noticed those were the boxes. I noticed that there are headings, that there's lists, that there's another heading, there's more headings, that there's a chart, that there's bold words, which seem to be keywords, key terms. So I have those things set. In the same way, I put that here, survey. What is it that I noticed survey wise? Headings, lists, chart, bold words. Then you also have to question. So you question while you're reading and beforehand. So I'm pretending like I'm reading this for a class about how to be a teacher. So a question I might ask myself is, what intelligences do my students have? How many intelligences are there? How can I help my students with this? So if that's on a separate page, that's how I would do that. If I'm doing the annotation, I might just write the questions next to wherever it is that something is. So I could potentially write that how many intelligences are there next to this overview, how many are there? But I just wrote it at the bottom. Then I'm reading and recording together because I can't show evidence of my reading except for with recording. So as I'm doing that on a separate document, I am taking notes here. As I am doing that on the paper itself, I'm annotating as I go. You don't have to annotate for every single thing that you see, but things that seem important. And as a reminder, annotation is more than just highlighting and circling. It has to be. Because otherwise, if you go back and look at things later, you're not going to remember why you circled or highlighted or underlined or squared or whatever it is that you did. So, for example, I have Howard Gardner here, and I put to the side creator. I did it this way instead of on the actual paper, so that way you could see what it is that I was doing. Then again, I have a note attached to this one. Then here, if I was really writing this, I would just be like, oh, okay, here are the definitions of those 7, and I'm just highlighting what they're called and circling some of the keywords from that. Even though I'm not writing on the side, linguistic intelligence equals this, logical mathematical intelligence equals this. I could, but I'm not, because this annotation of like, oh, these are the definitions, allows me when I look back at this to be like, oh, okay, those are the 7. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to pause the video, go through and finish annotating, and then we will start back at the next step as soon as I can figure this out. What just happened? Sorry. All right, so we are back. I went through and I finished annotating everything. So everything is set. I went all the way through, did not stop when I was like, this is good enough, but read everything. And then taking notes. Again, I have certain parts where it's like, okay, if this is the list, I'm just putting what that's a list of. I don't necessarily have to rewrite things, but all of my annotations do have notes. They are not at all just, oh, I'm going to circle or underline or whatever. So that's the annotation on the document itself. For the notes, I like to do an outline type for myself because it helps me. So I went through and I looked at what I annotated and I added it onto here. So just each part that I annotated, this is it. Because here, where it talked about the different types of intelligences, I couldn't just say definitions. I wrote out each one of them, right? So that way, when I look back at my notes, I know what it is that I'm looking for. So I have the 7 intelligences broken down, the claims, all the different things that I took notes on, right? So then we get to the recall section. There are different ways that you could do the recall. You can test yourself on it. You can make flashcards. I think for this assignment, the easiest thing to do would be to do a summary at the end, and doing that without looking at your notes. Because if you're recalling, you're not just copying over. You're thinking of, okay, what is it that I remember? So I might say, okay, Howard Gardner has 7 intelligences, 2 relating to school, 3 for the arts, and 2 for personal. They are seen by educators, not seen by educators. There could potentially be it's actually before that. Seen by educators and can be used to help more students. I also want to put that there could be more. And then, if I remember correctly, it was having to do with spiritual, nature, and morals. Then it also talked about how. See, this is where the good thing of recall comes in. Then you're thinking, okay, what is it that I actually remember? And then it makes you realize what it is you need to go back and look at. So there could be more spiritual, moral, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence needs to be taught as well. And then there are many benefits. Okay. So if I'm like, oh, that's everything I remember, then I could look back and be like, oh, okay, I need to look through this a little bit more because I'm forgetting a lot of it. Or, oh, you know what? I got kind of the gist of it. So that's it. If you are doing it on notes, I want you to have these sections: survey, question, read and record, and recall. And that's all you have to turn in. So I'm just going to copy and paste this to make it easier. If you are doing the annotating on the paper itself, you need to do the same things. Survey, what is it that you notice? Question, what questions do you have? Read and annotate, making sure those annotations are more than just underlines or highlights. Then having your recall. So I might put it here, recall / summary. I'm just going to paste that to make life easier. Okay. And then that's it. So this is due by the time class starts on Tuesday. Sorry, I'm figuring that out. This is due by the time class starts on Tuesday. It's not due on Monday the way things normally are, because if you did this on paper, you wouldn't have a way to turn it in. So just make sure that you have that ready. If you have any questions on anything, please, please, please let me know.